Welcome to the Behind the Girl Boss podcast, where every woman's journey takes center stage. Join us in this safe space as we explore the ins and outs of business, career, mental health, the music industry, and more. Whether you're a go-getter or a dream chaser, we've got stories for you. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok for an exclusive backstage pass. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and entertained. Welcome to the ride. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to the podcast. So today we have another guest with us and we have Vic. So hi Vic.
Hi.
Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Vic. I'm a lifestyle content creator on Instagram from Montreal. I'm not the most exciting person. I am such a basic person. So whenever I have to explain who I am, I'm just like, well, what am I gonna say? But I love to watch TV and I watch the same TV on repeat, and that's like me as a whole person, which
No,
sounds boring, but
literally. I watch the
I
same shows over and over. Like I don't know how people start new shows.
same.
It's so hard.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me.
Well, obviously there's a lot more to you. I feel like I'm the same though. Like whenever someone's like, "Oh, like tell me about yourself," like I have no idea what to say, but then
Same. It's like you forget who you are.
yeah, and
And I'm
I'm like,
like,
I literally don't do anything
what do I do?
actually. Yeah. But I have a lot of questions for you, so I'm excited to get into
Yay.
that. But before I do that, I like to do a hot seat segment to kind of just break the ice and know little fun facts. So the first one is if you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Okay, this is a really hard question because I never thought I'd be asked this question in my life because I never thought I was cool enough. Okay, it's gonna be like a little cringy maybe because I'm gonna take it in a different way and say I would have it with Ramsey because I feel like that meal would be the best meal of my life.
Honestly.
Also, I'm obsessed with him. So that's what I'm going with.
Honestly, I like that. I feel like, yeah, like that food would hit. Like
Yeah. Like
if
I
it
know
didn't
that
hit,
most
I'd be
people would
surprised.
answer, yeah, like I feel like most people would answer like something maybe a little bit more clever because they'd want to like have good conversations with like someone. But I'm like, I want to eat. So
Honestly, real me
that's what I'm
too.
going with.
I love that. No one's ever said that, so good job. The next one is what's one TV show you recommend to everyone you meet?
Okay. So this is another like this is a hard one because I have like my five shows on rotation, which are like my top shows.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm gonna have to pick one, I'm saying Community
Okay.
because it is the best. Like
I've
it'll
never
change your
watched it.
world. Well, you have to.
I will.
Like
What is
it
it
is so
about?
good. And so it's like not really a sitcom, but it's like a school, community,
Okay.
college, school comedy show. I don't want to give away too much because it's
Mm-hmm.
not your typical
Okay.
show.
I will
I'll
watch
say
it.
that. Yeah, no, it's really
All right,
good.
cool. Maybe I'll finally start a new show. And then the last thing is, what's the one thing you can't start your day without?
Coffee.
Me
Like
too.
I literally can't do anything in my like, day without it.
No, I'm like the type of person, if I don't have a coffee, I get a headache like right away and then like I
Same.
went to
Like
bed.
it's like the second I'm awake, it's go to the coffee machine and make coffee. There's nothing else. It's
Literally.
not like pee first. It's coffee first.
Me too. I'm literally the same. So you are someone who shares a lot of your life online as like a creator and you're very open about a lot. But I like to ask people this that do share a lot of their life online. What is something that you do for fun for yourself that many people may not know that you actually do?
Okay. Well, it's very obvious what I do, and it's watch TV. I know that that's not really a hobby, but like for me, it is a hobby because I actually just really love watching shows.
Hmm.
Maybe like the thing that people don't know is that like I watch reality TV sometimes, which is like
Hmm.
a little special. I mean, I've tried to have different hobbies. Like I've tried painting and video games and like it's all good, but I always go back to TV. Like I just
Yeah.
can't,
No, I feel that. I mean, at the end of the day, it kind of is a hobby. Like,
you
I feel
know.
like our lives are so busy too. Like, just having something to like relax
Exactly.
to and not
Like
have to like think.
you don't think like your brain just is off and you're just enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
So that's my hobby. Take
Yeah.
it or leave it.
I love that. So growing up, did you always envision yourself working in this like social media content creator world, or did you have a different path in mind?
Definitely not, because obviously growing up, this was not a thing. So, like, honestly, I never truly really had like one thing in my mind that I wanted to be. Like, if you look at like my elementary school yearbook and high school yearbook, it was like fashion designer or photographer, and they were just like very loose terms that I had
Hmm.
chosen. So, like, evidently they're like a little bit more creative, and that kind of is what I'm doing,
Yeah.
but like in a different kind of way. So I guess it sort of is.
Yeah, I feel like it was all like what you were saying, it's kind of always geared in like the entertainment world, but never have.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
again, like being a content creator wasn't really a career path growing up. I've seen
Yeah,
like YouTubers and stuff, but that was like the extent that like I saw. I didn't know people could
exactly. And
make
I feel
good.
like it was
Yeah.
like out of reach. I
Hmm.
mean, like, I don't know. I guess just growing up when you saw that, you're like, wow, this is wild. I could never do something
Yeah.
like that. But obviously, it is clearly not out of reach. But I think it's just like
Yes.
that's what was in my head.
Yeah. And when did you start posting on Instagram? And did you start with like, oh, like I want to like have like an aesthetic, nice looking feed and like pursue this? Or was it more so like how a lot of us started just posting random weird ass pictures?
A bit of both. Like, obviously, when Insta was a thing, like, I got it right away. And like, it
Hmm.
was just a little cringe, obviously,
Yeah.
what I was posting. And it was just like your Starbucks cup and whatever. So I don't
Hmm.
count those years because they were just like the having fun years.
Yeah.
But like when I started more seriously, it was kind of just fashion related, a little bit more aesthetic, didn't
Hmm.
think too much into it. And then it kind of started to evolve of like, maybe I actually have something more to say than posting a flat lay. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the beginning.
And what kind of strategies would you say you use that help you like grow your platform in the early stages versus now?
I think in the early stages, I wasn't thinking so much about growth and it was more just like for fun. And
Hmm.
I just like doing this on the side. Like, obviously, I had a full-time job and it
Yeah.
wasn't something that I was really thinking about. And I was doing these things at my job. So I was like doing the content, whatever,
Yeah.
for a fashion brand. And that's kind of what triggered me to be like, why don't I do it for myself too?
Mhm.
So at the first, there was no strategy. It was just like, do whatever you want, post whatever you want, don't
Yeah.
even think about it. Now, obviously, I do think about it a little bit. I'm not saying like everything is super curated. I
Yeah.
used to be that way. Not that it doesn't work because it works for some, but I don't think it works long term for everybody. I think
Yeah.
you have to have something to say, something that people
Hmm.
take away. Like beautiful pictures are great and they're an escape and I have nothing
Yeah.
against them because I still do that. But you got to mix in something with a little bit more value.
Yeah, and I think like for you, for example, what like I like about your page is like you can see your personality through your posts too. And
Hmm.
like I like creators like that because it just makes you feel like we've only met in person like once or twice,
One
but I
time.
feel like
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like because I follow you and like you have like a lot of personality in your posts, like it doesn't feel like that, if that makes sense. Like some people I've never met and I'm like, I know them. Like
No,
because
I get that. And same with you. Like obviously like the vibe was there right away and you just feel
Mhm.
like you feel their ambiance from a page, which I know sounds pretty crazy because like how can you know someone?
Yeah.
But like I feel like when you're just very genuine and honest,
Mhm.
people will grasp onto that.
Yeah, and like when again, like I do like curated stuff sometimes, like looking at it, I'm like, oh, like that's pretty, but then I'm like, I don't actually know anything about the person. So like for me, when I follow
Exactly.
people,
So
it's
it's
more
like
like that.
balance.
Yeah, 100%. Can you share some tips that you have for people who are looking to grow like a genuine, engaged audience on Instagram?
Be honest, be real, be you. I know that these are like the hardest things or like it's like what you always think about but you don't implement.
Yeah.
Like especially when you're consuming, like you want to have like the perfect image or whatever
Hmm.
is going on in your head. Like you don't want to be 100% you. And I'm not saying like give 1,000% of yourself
Yeah.
on the internet. Like you do you. But I think that like once people understand that, or like, okay, this is like who she is and she's sharing genuine feelings and
Yeah.
thoughts, that's how you kind of start to build your community. Over time, people are gonna sniff out the BS. I think that if you're fake for a long period of time, people will stop being engaged. And there's so many creators out there. There's so many people to follow. So
Yeah.
like being yourself is the best way to stand out because no one will ever be like you.
Yeah, and like you can see through when people are being fake or like trying to curate this like perfect
Yeah.
image or like not being themselves because you could just tell when someone's like genuine about what they're talking about versus just
Yeah, and like
talk.
life is not always perfect. Like, and I understand that like oftentimes we want to go on social for an escape, which
Hmm.
is totally cool, but I think at the same time like we need to make sure that people know we're real people and like there's real
Yeah.
feelings and like real things happen in everybody's lives that are not always beautiful. So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think like for me, for example, being like a business owner and trying to like grow my
Hmm.
socials and stuff, if I go online and I see these people like everything's going well for them and like it looks perfect, I look back at myself, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? But
Exactly.
like having people
And
talk now, I'm like, okay, like people are in the same boat as me.
I think that's the biggest thing is like a lot of people feel alone and
Hmm.
however they're feeling about whatever it may be. It could be something small or big, but just seeing it makes you feel a little bit better about yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like if I see someone bitching about something that I was like, oh, I was bitching about that too. Okay. Someone feels the same way. And like it
Yeah.
just, I don't know, I think it just automatically creates a connection.
100%. So how do you kind of manage the balance between creating content for yourself and what you like versus also having to be like, okay, like I want this to perform well. How do you find a balance between that?
Tough. Obviously, following trends is the easiest way to
Hmm.
like get great engagement and views and everything that goes along with that, and that's great. And you know, I still mix that in between my content all the
Yeah.
time, but I always try to find a way to not make it more unique because it's obviously really hard to do
Yeah.
that with trends, but you know, making it a little bit more me.
Hmm.
And that's kind of the way I try to mix it up. But at the same time, if there's something that I've created that's maybe not as popular. I don't care as much, and I'm gonna post it anyway because as long as it makes me happy, that's all
That's
that really
important.
matters.
Yeah.
Like I know that it matters how my audience receives things, but I don't know. I just feel like metrics are important, but at the same time, my message is a little bit more important. So
Hmm.
like finding the balance between those two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you went from like 8,000 to 80,000 plus in like a really
a
quick
short period
time.
of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As your audience grew, did you see like an increase in like hate comments or like negative comments?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it comes with the territory, and I know that's not a fun thing to say,
Yeah.
but it does. Like the second there's more eyes, there's more people with opinions that
Hmm.
are going to come through. I mean, being online, people think that they're anonymous. You can be, you can't be,
Yeah.
whatever it might be. So people just feel the need to say whatever thought
Yeah.
pops in their mind and leave that comment. And, you know, I don't want to shit on those people either because I think that everyone's going through something and
Yeah.
maybe it's just them projecting in that moment. But, you know, it is what it is. And I've always been bullied growing up. So to me, it's just like, oh, another day, another comment. Like,
Yeah.
you just have to like move on with it. And I know that's a really hard thing to do. And I'm saying, oh, just move on. I know that it can get to you, but over time, you just realize that it doesn't matter so much. And the only thing that really matters is what people in your circle feel.
Yes. Yeah. And how do you kind of deal with it? Do you like, I know some people just delete them, some people like clap back sometimes. How do you personally deal with it?
I mean, I think we all know I love to clap back. It's like
Yeah,
one of
it's
my
so funny
favorite
whenever I
things in the
see
world
it.
to do. I know that it gives them something, and like you're supposed to ignore it and delete it and move on because like trolls want that attention.
Yeah.
It's what they're fishing for. But I just love to have fun with it and like mess back with them. Like
Hmm.
if someone is going to say something and it's not clever, like I'm going to let you know that it wasn't clever. Like, you
Yeah.
know, calling me fat, like that's not a revolutionary comment to have left. So I like to, you know, send something spicy back.
Yeah.
I think it just makes me feel like if someone else is reading the comments, that they would feel like, oh, Vic clapped back. So it doesn't matter so much
Yeah.
if like, you know, I look like her. So if they're leaving the comment to her, that's how they must feel about me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like not something that I want someone to feel about themselves. So I want them to be like, oh, it's fine. Like, who cares? Fuck them.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I think that's my reasoning behind it. I know it's not always the best reasoning, but
No, yeah,
I
no, I
love to
totally
fuck with
get it.
people.
Yeah, and going off that too, when you were talking about like, oh, like I look like her, and like if she can like clap back at that, like I can feel that way too. I think it's like really
Exactly.
important to have like representation of like different bodies, different ethnicities, different sexualities online because growing up,
Mm-hmm.
like that didn't exist in like any media. Like if you look at like the old shows,
No.
every single person on there was this like skinny blonde person, and like that's
Yeah. Like
and
the quote unquote perfect
yeah.
person.
And like at the end of the day, like that's not reality. Like there's so many different body types, so many different
Mm-hmm.
like gender expressions and like so many like everything is so different. So I love that like now with social media, like there's more people that are feeling more confident in themselves. Obviously, there's still the other side of like
Of
comparison and
course.
everything, but it's just nice to know like there's an outlet for like everybody and like people can see themselves now in other people. Have you like experienced that with like the type of content you post? Have you had people like be like, "Oh, like I see you in me." If that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. Like it's like the most exciting thing to get from someone. Like when they're
Hmm.
like, oh, you post in a tank top, and I could never go out in a tank top because I have the same arms that look like yours. And I'm just like, it's things that I don't even necessarily think about when I'm posting, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
just posting my outfits because I like my outfit. I'm not
Hmm.
thinking twice about my body most of the time.
Yeah.
So then when I get that, I'm like, oh, like I didn't know that I actually helped someone to that degree, like to such a specificity of like arm fat, like
Yeah.
it's like very specific things that just, I don't know, it makes me really happy to know that other people are like, oh, Vic is wearing that. So now I can wear it like without me even thinking about that as an end goal. So
Yeah. 100%. I think it's just been nice to like just see different body types on social media and like, yeah,
yeah,
because
exactly. And we're just people. Like we have such a short time
exactly.
on this earth. Like who really gives a fuck what we look like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you know?
100%. Obviously, being on social media and like having your life on the forefront can be difficult at times. How
Yeah.
do you kind of maintain your mental health during all this?
It's tough. Like I'm not gonna say that I'm the best at it because I'm definitely not. And this
Hmm.
is like always forever gonna be a work in progress with myself as well. I mean, disconnecting sometimes is definitely a big part of this, right? Like
Yeah.
we're online pretty much 24/7. Like
Hmm.
it's my job to be. Even when I disconnect, they're not for long periods of time. It's really short periods of time. But I think it's just about finding time for yourself within this that kind of
Yeah.
helps you detach from some of the crazier parts of this job. And like I said, like watching TV, it shuts my brain off. And I know that's
Hmm.
maybe not the best way to cope with things, but it really helps me. And it just brings me back down. And I'm like, okay, I'm refocused, I'm recentered, I'm good to go.
Yeah. And how do you think your journey of practicing self-love has evolved as you've grown on social media and just, yeah, like you said, like your job is that I'm pretty sure you still have a full-time job and you
I do.
social media. So like how has that evolved?
It's tough. I mean, like I said, like I'm forever working on this. Like
Yeah,
I'm by far not the most perfect at balancing like full time and then having this as a job and being online all the time and then taking care of myself.
it's hard.
I try my best. I think we all try our best. I
Mm-hmm.
think we live in like such a busy time, like regardless of what your job is, like we're all swamped with whatever it might be, like chores, groceries, cooking, cleaning,
Yeah.
editing content, shooting content, all of the things that go through it. So I think it's just taking time to like actually take time for yourself, like scheduling in time for yourself. And that's something that I've
Yeah.
learned is just, I know that, having a schedule for me time sounds really stupid, but
No, it
it's
works.
the way that it works for me. And like my calendar is always packed. So I'm like, okay, this day there's nothing. So I'm actually gonna block it off so that if something comes up, that's it. Like I've
Hmm.
scheduled time for me, it's me time, that's it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way I kind of deal with my hectic life.
Yeah. And I think it was like the other day or something you posted about how your fiance is very like involved in your stuff and like helps you out a lot and
Yeah.
stuff. Has that always been the case, or was it like a learning curve for you guys?
Not really. I think he's like the most supportive human in the universe. I don't know who created this guy, but I don't know. Good for him because like I know that for a lot of people it's not the case and their partners
Hmm.
aren't as involved. And I'm not trying to shit on anyone because we
Yeah.
all have crazy shit in our lives. But he genuinely loves to make the time to help me because he sees how overwhelmed I get sometimes. And, I do have technically two jobs. And
Yeah.
so he loves to just support me, come with me. He's also like super into photography, so it kind of
Hmm.
ties in with some of his
Yeah.
interests. And yeah, I know he's the best, honestly.
I love that. No, it's so important to have someone like supportive in your corner. I don't think I would be able to
Exactly.
like be with somebody who doesn't like motivate me and like want to see me
Exactly.
succeed. Like
Because
again,
like
not shitting on
even
people, but
no, because like even at sometimes it's a tough job. It's tough, like,
Mhm.
even going to these events, if you're not from this world, it can be overwhelming. It could be a
Yeah.
lot. And the fact that like he comes and supports me and sometimes, yeah, my social battery dies real quick.
Hmm.
And he just like jumps in and he takes over for me. And I feel like something that I need in someone because like I would do it for him, whatever he needs.
Yeah.
Like if one day he's an influencer and he needs me to do these things, I would do it. But yeah, I think having his support is a huge help.
Yeah. No, I love that. So what role does body positivity and like self-acceptance play in your life, both like personally and in the content that you share online?
I mean, a lot. Obviously, my entire life is just about being positive.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to be like, oh, I sit down and think about this and think about, okay, how can I help someone? I think it's
Mm-hmm.
just inherently in me that I'm just like, I post my outfit. I'm not thinking, okay, is this gonna connect with the other curvy
Yeah.
girls? It's just like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. And then if someone else can relate, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to like either say like all curvy girls should dress like me. Also, I'm someone who loves myself maybe too much. So
Honestly, I don't think it's
like
ever too much.
when others see my page, I don't want them to just think like, oh, it's a body positivity page. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's wrong either. I just want to be a normal person. I just want to be
Yes.
accepted in this world as a normal person, the same way, a thinner person would be
Mm-hmm.
accepted. It's not that someone's going to a thinner person's page and being like, oh, she's exuding body confidence. Like,
Yes.
that's not something you think because you just think, oh, well, she is confident because she's thin.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't we just think, oh, she is confident because she's curvy? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I feel like the labels are a lot for me to handle,
Yeah.
but I'm someone who's always just loved myself. I wanted other people to love themselves. So if they come and they're like, "Oh, today Vic's having a bad day," it's okay to have a bad day. I'm not saying love yourself
Yeah.
24/7. Everyone has their shit, whatever size, whatever you look like. It's normal. But yeah, I do whatever makes me happy, and I hope that it makes other people happy.
Yeah. No, I love that too because how you were saying like you don't want people to go on your page and be like, oh, like this is just like a body positive page. I
Yeah,
feel like
like I want this for
yeah.
everyone.
Like I feel like nowadays, like with the diversity, the watch
Putting
a
you in a
show.
box.
Yeah, when I watch a show and it's like, okay, like I feel like because I resonate with this a lot, like a queer character, it's all around like their queer identity and they can't just be like a person. So I feel like it's the
Exactly.
same thing online. Like, why
And
does someone have to go there and be like, oh, this is like a body positive page or this is that? Like, why can't it
yeah,
just be?
like, and I think that, listen, there's still importance to talking about these
Yes.
subjects. I'm not saying like let's just brush them under the carpet,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I think that we're more than our label.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, 100%. I like that because yeah, people are more than just like what they identify as or identify with. And I
exactly.
think everyone's just a freaking human at the end of the day. And like, why can't we just like live with that and
Exactly.
sit in that?
Yeah.
If someone's listening to this right now and they're struggling with self-doubt, with wanting to like post on Instagram and like
hmm
show their personality and everything, what advice would you give to them?
Tune out the hate. That's the first thing. Don't let anyone's comments get to you ever. Do you do whatever
Yes.
makes you happy? Because at the end of the day, all that matters is your happiness. I'm not saying that other people's happiness don't matter, but you come
Yeah.
first. And it's okay to have your moments of doubt. We all have
Mhm.
them, but just go for it. Like at the end of the day, you're your worst critic?
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah.
So, what are some of your long-term goals for your like your Instagram and your just content creation journey in general?
I mean, growth is always going to be a big part of it, but at the same time, I'm not going to say that like the metrics are the most important, but I think it's just the audience that comes from it and the growth in that sense and
Hmm.
like the amount of people that I could potentially be helping and yeah, I think that's the main goal. Like, I don't think that there's much more into it. Like, obviously, this is a business,
Yeah.
but it's more than a business to me. Like, this is who I am on a page. And yeah, I know this is gonna sound so cheesy, but like,
Mhm.
I've always been someone who wants to change the world.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is my tiny little step of potentially changing the world.
Yeah, no,
So
I love that. And how we spoke about before, how you went like from 8 to 80,000 in like such a short period of time. Was there like a specific video that like popped off that like had that, or was it like consistency? Like, what do you think got you to that jump?
there was a few videos that popped off actually, and they weren't even like the craziest videos, which is why it came as a shock to me. Honestly, I
Hmm.
just woke up one day, what the fuck just happened? That was my reaction, like what the fuck just happened? Like I had no idea. And it was just like a few of my more body positive
Yeah.
pieces of work. Obviously, they were reels because reels, they could
Yes.
pop off. And then from there, it was consistency, of course. And then here and there, there's always like those videos that tend to stand out a little bit more. Not always with reason, like sometimes I'm like, why is it that one that went
Yeah.
viral? Like that's the one I didn't even want to post. But I think that's kind of a learning as well. Like just post the content. Like you don't know
Mhm.
what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I think also like not deleting stuff because I've done that before. I was like, "Ugh, this is doing so bad. Like, let me
Same.
delete it." And then I'm like, you
But
know
you
what?
never
Like
know
that could
because
have popped
over
off.
time,
Hmm.
it's not that it's dead. It could have a second life at some point,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 100%. So my last part of my podcast, I asked people on Instagram to ask questions, and I picked three of my favorite ones. So the first one is, how do you know what type of photos, videos you want to shoot? Do you plan it out?
yes and no. I think it just depends. So like in terms of planning through weather, that's a big one here,
Yes.
considering we have winter months, there's a lot of snow. So like in the fall/winter months, I do plan a little bit more only
Hmm.
because I don't like going outside in the snow and in the cold.
Either.
Like that's not my thing. So I try to be organized to first have a lot of content throughout fall so that I don't have to go out as much in the winter. And
Hmm.
then obviously I will still have to go out in the winter and shoot content, but I'll try and choose more indoor locations. And then with that comes the complexities of like people being in those
Yes.
locations. So getting there first. And then I also work full time during the week. So I can only go
Mhm.
weekends. So it's a little bit more crowded on a weekend. So yeah, that sense of planning is kind of the most. Summertime, not so much. I think because I go out so much more
Yeah.
frequently, I just get to shoot while I'm out. And then same with like trips. Those are a little bit more quote unquote planned. I do like to like research the area, like say
Yeah.
I'm going to Spain and whatever city, I'll look up different places, go on Insta, see what other people have done, and then
Mhm.
in that sense planning. But no, I think a lot of it is just at random most of the
Yeah.
time.
They didn't ask this, but I'm gonna ask this. Do you have like
Go.
content like schedule, or do you just kind of post whenever you feel like it? Because I know some people like are like, I'm gonna post Monday, Wednesday, whatever, but like what do you do?
Yeah, I do have my days. It's
Okay.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Oh, and
Okay.
it's not because it's set in stone. Like sometimes I'll just post whenever.
Hmm.
It's just to keep myself accountable because it's easy to forget.
Yeah,
And so I just have like my reminders on those days if I have content posted on those days.
yeah, for
But that's
sure.
the only reason.
No, love that. The next one is, do you ever feel at a disadvantage being a Canadian creator?
Hmm. Okay. So that's a good one. And I think it's debatable because I feel 50-50 on the
Yeah.
question. So I think, yeah, at times maybe we're given fewer opportunities only because the States is ginormous, right? Like it's
Yes.
a huge market that Canada just isn't, and we can't
Hmm.
match that. However, at the same time, because we're a smaller market and we are a smaller community of creators, there are more opportunities for us. So that's why I feel 50-50. Like I think that if I was in the States and there's, 10 times the amount of creators, maybe my opportunities would be
Yeah,
far less than they are here. So
that's true. That's a good
yeah,
way to
I'm
look
I'm
at it.
just yeah, exactly. Like I'm very lucky for what I have here, so I
Hmm.
can't complain.
The only thing I wish is that TikTok would open up like the creator like fun thing to Canadians.
Oh, yeah, but
Because
that's
like,
like a whole different thing.
yeah, that's a whole different thing. Because there's some like Canadian creators that like I see get like millions of views and they get
Hmm.
$0 for it. And I'm like, that is just crazy. Because I know
Yeah.
people in the States that make like 10 to 20K a month from like TikTok
Hmm.
money.
Even on Instagram though, they can
Oh yes,
monetize
the
on
real
Insta
stuff.
too.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
have that, right?
we don't.
That's so annoying.
So yeah, I think in those senses it's a little shittier for us.
Yeah.
But
But again,
it's
what
fine.
you said,
Like
yeah.
we get a lot more paid opportunities with brands, so
Hmm.
there's like some sort
Pros
of
and
happy
cons.
medium there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last question is, who are some of your favorite Montreal creators?
I wish I could name them all. Like honestly, I actually love everyone.
There's so
Everyone is
many
the
like
best.
fun ones here. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say Tiffany Live because
Yes.
I love her and she's my bestie, so I obviously have to say her. Sarah Astigay, she
Yes.
creates such beautiful content and I'm obsessed with her. Vivi Towers, that's her
Yes.
handle. I love her. Kelly Kiko
I
and
don't think I know that
Matusha.
one.
Oh, I'll send you her because I love her
Yes.
too. Yeah, and Matusha because she does like the most beautiful makeup looks in the
I don't know her
universe.
either.
She is the most flawless human being, like truthfully.
You have
Like
to
if you
send
ever
me
get to
both
see her
those
in real
last
life,
two.
yeah, I will. I'll stop there because I can just keep naming people
No, yeah,
forever.
there's so many like fun people here, and I feel like even the people you mentioned now, they're all like diverse creators too, and they all
Hmm.
look different and do different things. So I think it's
Yeah,
just
and
so
everyone is like
fun.
in a different niche, and I love them
Yeah.
all so equally, and they all give me, what I love in life.
Yes. Well, that's all I had for you today. So thank you so much again for coming on and sharing all this and doing your first podcast with me.
Yay.
Before you leave, do you want to shout out any of your socials, where people can find you, where they can see your stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm mostly just on Insta, but I'll share my TikTok too because,
Mhm.
you know, it's there. It's the same handle on both, so it's at Vic_Carnevale, my last name.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me.